Hey everybody, Daryl here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuoki Kyoto Wins. We are along Chikage Kazuma's route, and hopefully we'll get lots more time with him before the game does its split before Edo blossoms, because we really need our time with him. Let's see just what we can get. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. With the last word, Heisuke stood next to us, facing Amagiri and Shiranui. He flashed me a grin, and the melancholy boy I'd seen only minutes ago was gone. In his place was the Heisuke I'd known.
Well, it looks like I don't really have a choice here. Shin and Sano can eat dirt for all I care, but if she dies, I won't be able to sleep at night.
So it's a good thing I came along to convince him then.
It's about damn time, you idiot.
I wasn't sure why, but when we were completely surrounded by enemies, and as we felt like we were evenly matched, the men made me feel confident that we'd come out fine, as long as I stayed by their side. 'Cause they're very capable fighters. Hey, Heisuke? When this is all over, can you come back to the Shinsengumi? I understand you made this decision after a lot of careful considerations, but everyone misses you.
Yeah, I'll think about it. After all, these two jokers are as good as dead without me.
Well, they've lived this long. His response was the happiest words I've heard in a while. This is Team Awesome.
Huh, it's been a while since we all fought together, huh? Sure hope you haven't gotten rusty without us to whip you into shape, Heisuke. I bet you anything all you learned at Ito's was learning how to quibble.
Are you kidding? Without you to hold me back, I finally managed to reach my full potential.
They laughed, just the way I'd heard them do so many times before. Even in a street full of enemies, watching them made me feel almost safe. The sight of it made my heart feel so warm. Harada. I'd meant to say that things had worked out. He just grinned at me and gripped his spear a little tighter. How comforting.
Alright, men. Our enemy is 2 demons and some Satsuma rabble. I don't have to tell you could win this with our eyes closed. Now let's kill him quick so we can go home and get drunk.
With that, the battle began. Countless Satsuma poured into the narrow street in an attempt to choke us with their sheer numbers. Nagakura's sword flicked and leapt, utterly unconcerned with any odds.
All you got is numbers. Anybody who wants to die, come at me.
Oh! Blood spurts and screams came from everywhere.
Damn it. I'm not gonna let you guys kill me.
The battle was so intense that I couldn't keep up with who was battling whom.
You should have just handed over that kid and begged for your life. Don't think I'm gonna let you die quickly.
Well, he's not going to be dying at all, really.
Huh. Careful, Shiranui. There's a lot of people here. If you shoot, you are more likely to hit one of your own men than me.
I don't think he really cares.
Damn it, I can't get a good shot. You're all useless, and more than that, you're in my way.
He kicked out furiously at a nearby Satsuma soldier who had the misfortune to stumble into Shiranui's line of fire. This is just... wow. I knew Nagakura, Harada, and Heisuke were skilled swordsmen, but I'd never seen them fight the way they did that night. Several of the Shinsengumi soldiers made a wall around me, and I watched as the captains tossed foes aside like they were made of straw. Then, from across the battlefield, I heard Amagiri's basso rumble.
You mean to challenge me on your own? I suppose your courage is admirable.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we're a little short on men, so you're just gonna have to fight me.
Even in single combat, you were unable to defeat me. This situation is hardly more ideal. What do you intend to do? Huh!
Even swords weren't enough to stop Amagiri's fists, and Heisuke, with his small frame, was driven back.
Chest!
The Satsuma pressed in, looking for an advantage.
Damn it!
No! He's surrounded! Heisuke's plight distracted me from my own, which was a mistake I regretted almost immediately. Ah! I thought I was surrounded by Shinsengumi. Before I realized what was happening, 2 Satsuma soldiers burst through the Shinsengumi line, charging straight toward me. Why? Why are you targeting me of all people?
Gah! Watch out, Chizuru!
No one was close enough to intercept them, and I was nowhere near strong enough to fight off 2 men on my own. They were closer now. No time to dodge. I heard the wet slice of two blades cutting into human flesh. It doesn't hurt? When I looked up, the soldiers were dead. A sword pierced through the chest of one, straight through the heart, and the other had taken a wakizashi through the throat. I spun toward Heisuke across the street.
Seems like I made it.
He was smiling, his arms still extended from throwing his swords, and he grinned like he was happy to see me safe. Heisuke, why did you do that? He'd never even stopped to consider if my life was worth his own.
Your courage is impressive.
Amagiri's fist moved horribly, painfully slow.
But foolish.
Without his swords, Heisuke had no way to block, and his throw had left him no room to dodge. Oh, Amagiri, I feel like this is out of character for him, to attack an unarmed man. No! My ragged scream echoed across the battlefield.
Heisuke! Heisuke! Damn it! Out of my way! How can they be so strong? Retreat! Retreat! Go! Go! They're running. First they get in my way, and then they just give up. Bah! I guess there's no helping it.
Well, you could stay and fight with Amagiri. Harada's blade became a snarling, monstrous whirlwind of death, and before it, the Satsuma and their demon allies were pushed back until they finally withdrew.
Damn it, let's retreat for now. I'll never forget tonight. I will personally send all of you Shinsengumi men straight to hell.
Miki and all the remaining Guardian soldiers all scrambled to their feet and ran, but all of that seemed so far away from me. Todo. The street of Aburano Koji was painted with red. Everything before my eyes seemed to melt together, coalescing into deep pools of blood. My hands were smeared with red. The words Heisuke coughed out were red.
Looks like I screwed up.
Don't talk, damn it. Crap, this is bad. His internal organs could be affected.
Harada, his injury! Let me see it! I ran over to Heisuke to check up on him. I was praying to myself that it'd be fine. Even if it looked bad, it couldn't be serious, right? It's not as if a strike like that was going to be fatal to someone like Heisuke. I repeated these things over and over in my mind. I mean...
Damn it, Heisuke, you can't die here.
Was he really going to die? No, you can't die! Heisuke! I just couldn't get myself to believe this. But when I saw it unfold in front of me, I realized I couldn't deny what was happening. I was shivering, but I reached out to wipe the blood desperately from his cheek. His eyes were rolling back into his head, but he looked at me, shaken and cold.
Sorry, I wanted to be there for you a little longer. I screwed that up pretty good, didn't I?
No, Heisuke, I wasn't ever so important that you should have given your life to protect me. So please, save your strength.
I'm fine. Don't worry about me.
Let's carry him to the compounds. We can't do anything for him here. Can you run, Chizuru?
Yes, of course. We ran through the night, Nagakura and Harada bearing Heisuke's bloody and beaten body back to the Shinsengumi. Every minute felt like an hour, and with every second my heart felt that much closer to tearing it in half. The assassination of Ito and the destruction of the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb was later known as the Aburano Koji incident. Both the Shinsengumi and the Guard were surprised by the sudden appearance of Satsuma troops and by the demons who accompanied them. Both parties had fallen for the Satsuma trap, and the battlefield was thrown into confusion. During the fight, Heisuke was mortally wounded and had no choice but to drink the water of life and become a fury or die. As the Battle of Aburano Koji was taking place, the headquarters of the Shinsengumi came under attack from Chikage Kazuma. The monstrous thing my father had made was slowly devouring the Shinsengumi. How long before the water of life swallowed them whole? and some skipping to do. This time I have to say I'll stay here. We're already in chapter 5. And we haven't had that much material with him yet. I hope we have lots of extra material with him in chapter 5. Please, Kazuma! I was really hoping we could fill in some extra stuff in the beginning with him, since his route was longer, but I guess they're really just making the last half of his route longer. Alright, well, chapter 5 here. December 1867. As the threat of the Satsuma Choshu plot to overthrow the shogunate loomed over the country, the Tokugawa shogunate had been pressed to restore power to the imperial court, an act later known as the Imperial Restoration. Lord Yoshinobu Tokugawa had moved from Kyoto to Osaka Castle in an emergency effort to plan the defense against his increasingly perilous foes. But, even within Edo, considered to be the shogun's indisputable territory, Satsuma's sympathies had swept through the city. As a result, the shogunate had fallen for the Satsuma mission to provoke them into conflict by attacking the Satsuma domain's capital residence. The shogunate army, acting on behalf of the agitated government body, sent troops to reinforce Osaka in order to punish the Satsuma's treason. This was one of the final attempts from the shogunate to assert its authority, hoping that, by outnumbering the Satsuma, victory was assured. Back then, we had all expected to win handily. If we could have hopefully made a successful showing on the battlefield, the Satsuma would back down. Little did we know just how inaccurate this expectation would later become. The Shinsengumi was stationed at the Fushimi Magistrate, along with many of the other shogunate forces, as a contingency plan as conflict brewed in Edo. And so, we were welcoming the new year just before unexpected tragedy hit us close to home. Kondo had been shot by an unknown gunman while traveling through Kyoto, critically wounding him. Although his condition later stabilized, his right shoulder was seriously injured. Okita, whose illness left him barely able to walk, announced he was diagnosed with tuberculosis. Everything just stacked up all at once. In order to receive treatment from Dr. Matsumoto, both Kondo and Okita had to leave Kyoto and were moved for treatment to Osaka Castle. January 3rd, 1868. Huh? For some reason, the Fushimi Magistrate was buzzing in a panicked frenzy this morning.
All right, men, to your stations. Everyone stay on high alert.
Each of the soldiers was busy preparing for war. Oh no. Had the Satsuma finally made their move?
What's the matter, Chizuru?
Did something happen?
Yeah, looks like the shogunate's army is marching for Osaka right now.
The shogunate army is? Then, does that mean they're moving soldiers to Kyoto to prepare for battle?
Nah, I think they're just trying to scare off the Satsuma with all the soldiers at their disposal. Best case scenario is they run with their tails tucked between their legs before we even get there. There's like 15,000 of our troops in Osaka. The Satsuma on Choshu, on the other hand, has less than half of that. With common sense, they don't stand a chance. They'd be stupid not to withdraw their troops.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sounds great and all, but we're dealing with the Satsuma on Choshu here.
Hijikata had walked into the room, and beside him was Saito as usual.
Look, I think it's just simple math, you know.
Yeah, but there are other factors.
Have you forgotten the Hamagura Rebellion from almost 3 years ago? If they have already put forth this much effort, I am certain they are prepared for our men. Unlike last time, the Satsuma will be on the other side of our front lines. Yeah, I didn't forget. That's why any of us are here, preparing for the worst.
It seems like Saito's comment upset Nagakura. Suddenly an eerie sound rang from afar. Without a word, we looked at one another. Nagakura then broke the silence, still irate from our conversation.
Seriously? That was a gunshot? Did that really just happen? Seems like it. Saito, take Yamazaki and investigate outside. Shinpachi, rush the men to prepare for battle. Understood. Roger.
As soon as Saito and Nagakura responded, they started to scout the surrounding area. However, Hijikata said nothing to Saito mentioned the Hamagura Rebellion. During that time, the Choshu charged into Kyoto, but they were driven back by the shogunate in Satsuma. But this time the roles were different. It was the shogunate army who was on the attack, and the Satsuma Choshu on the defensive. It isn't really right for any army to try and oppress others through brute force. Eventually, barrages of gunfire were heard throughout Kyoto. The shogunate army and the Satsuma Choshu had finally erupted into war. The curtain had been drawn. Before we knew it, the Fushimi magistrate was under attack, and the men swarmed to rush outside, and there were incoming Satsuma soldiers. Then... all throughout the morning, countless cannonballs were aimed straight at the Fushimi magistrate.
This does not bode well. But at this rate, it's only a matter of time before this building gives out. Do we have no way of returning any cannon fire as well? Well, the problem is that the enemy cannons are situated far away and high up, so aiming is hard.
The Satsuma artillery units were encamped in a nearby mountain range close to the magistrate. From their vantage point, they could fire anywhere. However, trying to fire cannons from a lower area to a higher one was nearly impossible.
No, at this rate, we may as well be serving as target practice for their cannons.
Inoue glared at their encampment angrily. In the meantime, I had been occupied with the numerous injured soldiers returning.
What was that sound? Is the building falling apart?
It's okay. Please don't panic. Everything will be okay, so please, just rest for now. As I listened to the thunderous bellow of the cannons, I could only hope it would end soon. That's all I could do. Just hope it would end. Each impact from the Satsuma cannon shook the ground beneath the magistrate. Ah! I was growing impatient, but my frustration grew since all I could do was cower. Being so powerless left me vexed, and I just wanted to curl into a ball and cry. Then the cannon fire ceased, and the magistrate was eerily silent. I sat quietly, uncertain of what was to come, before I heard the gate open and some of our men returned. I couldn't contain myself to hear the news of the front, and I ran out of my room. Oh! After seeing Hijikata and the rest of the men return safely, my legs felt wobbly from the relief. But their moods looked sour, and I was hesitant to approach as I read their expressions more closely. Everyone was so silent, and the austerity of their arrival led me to believe things weren't well. Many of the warriors came back bandaged and filthy, and bloodied soldiers flooded the courtyard. Just seeing their worn, ripped uniforms illustrated just how intense the fighting must have been. The sun had begun to set, and the atmosphere around the magistrate had shifted from an almost unanimous optimism to bleak frustration. However, there was no reprieve for us, as enemy cannon fire resumed once more in the evening. Come on, guys, give it a rest! Waves of cannonballs hit us, one after the other, and the magistrate had caught a blaze. The Satsuma, to their credit, seemed to use the flames as a target, increasing the cannon fire. Hijikata quickly gathered the captains when news of the fire broke out.
This place won't hold for long. I spoke with the Aizu, and they ordered us to retreat. Retreat? Where the hell are we supposed to go from here? Yodo Castle. We'll regroup there in the castle, and use it as our headquarters to plan a counter. Saito, gather the injured. Understood. Shinpachi, Harada, round up everyone who can still move, and secure an escape route. Right, leave that to us. And Gen, get rid of any unnecessary weapons, munitions, or gold that we can't take with us. Yes, sir. Consider it done.
Everyone bowed once the orders were received, and Hijikata was looking to leave the room quickly. It was difficult not to be intimidated by the tense atmosphere. However... No, just find your own thing to do, Chizuru. Don't bother him. I mustered enough courage to stop Hijikata.
What, Yukimura? Is there something else?
Who should I go with?
Oh, right. Gen, take her to Yodo Castle with you, will you?
It's always poor Gen.
Very well, let's go now.
Hijikata flew out of the room, and everyone scurried to their respective stations. Although I knew where I had to go, I didn't really have anyone to talk to about what was going on. What I'd wanted was to get rid of all these anxious, uncertain feelings, but I had no one with whom I could speak about said feelings. But, considering all that was going on, I guess it made sense that there was no time to talk. The least I can do for now is work hard and help Inoue, so I don't feel like a burden to anyone. Or, this is what I tried to tell myself as I silently followed behind Inoue.
Okay, time to head out. Are you ready to leave?
Yes, I'm fine. We were finishing getting rid of the weapons before we rushed out of the Fushimi Magistrate. Many of the other warriors had already left, so we were some of the only ones who remained. Just then, we heard cannons land right next to where we were. The following shockwave made me trip.
These walls must be crumbling, and the flames are growing in size. We must leave this place as soon as possible. Hurry, Yukimura. The city is surely filled with the Satsuma Choshu soldiers, so perhaps we should use the forest to avoid them.
Okay. Inoue and I left the crumbling magistrate, quickly making our way for Yodo Castle. No, I don't want to go to Yodo.
We should arrive at Yodo Castle shortly. I know you may be tired from running all this way, but it's just a ways away. Hang in there.
No, let's go back, Inoue. I'm fine. Just as the words left my mouth.
You there, stop!
Suddenly a voice came from behind us, halting us in our tracks. I put my hand on my kodachi and turned around. It was a group of foot soldiers. I sighed in relief. The Satsuma Choshu warriors were marked by their tight black sleeves, so these men may have just been shogunate warriors. However, the warriors treated us suspiciously. I was sure that explaining things to them would clear the air. Sorry to surprise you, we're from the Shinsengumi.
The Shinsengumi?
Yes, we're on our way to Yodo Castle.
Wait, Yukimura!
Suddenly, Inoue placed his arm in front of me. Inoue? You spilled the beans, girl.
Hey, we got some enemies from the Shinsengumi!
One of the soldiers in front began yelling to his men in the back of his troop. What?
Yukimura, this way!
Inoue grabbed my hand and started running. What's going on? Aren't they in the shogunate army?
I think it would be more accurate to say, were.
You mean... As the tide of war began to slide in favor of the Satsuma Choshu, some men had decided to betray the shogunate. But how could they? 'Cause some men have no honor. Ah! One of the foot soldiers jumped from behind a bush.
Capture them! They're in the Shinsengumi!
Additionally, more voices came from behind us. I was starting to realize we had no way to escape, and I placed my hand on the hilt of my kodachi.
Yukimura, hide behind me!
Inoue spoke curtly, and he took something from out of his pocket. It was a tiny glass vial. The serum? Inoue, is that the water of life?
It'll be necessary if I hope to protect you from them.
I would really like to see one route where Inoue actually gets to be a fury. But... Just as I screamed out to him, we were interrupted by the shots of gunfire aimed toward us. Then... Inoue choked up. His eyes rolled behind his head, and he collapsed. The glass vial containing the water of life fell from his hand and shattered on the floor. Inoue! Hang in there! Inoue! I shook his shoulders as he laid still on the floor. However, Inoue showed no sign of response. His eyes were still open, but they were glassy, and the sparkle of life in them had dimmed. The hole where the bullet entered his body gushed his blood. Oh, I realized immediately. Inoue was dead. The kind-hearted soul whom I deeply admired had been murdered.
Did we do it? Take his head. If we hand it over to the Satsuma and Choshu, we may get a reward.
Ugh, you guys are... I angrily unsheathed my kodachi, readying my feet to prepare myself to fight the soldiers. You betrayed the shogunate, didn't you?
Betrayed? What shogunate? They're gone. We decided on our own where our allegiance lies.
Even if the shogunate is experiencing a setback, it doesn't change the fact that you betrayed both the shogunate and Lord Yoshinobu. You vowed to serve the shogunate, and yet you run at the first sign of trouble? Aren't you ashamed? For someone like me who witnessed firsthand from the Shinsengumi what honor really meant, these warriors committed an unforgivable sin. However, honor didn't seem to be something these warriors thought highly of.
There's still one left. Fire!
Then, a group of soldiers pointed all their rifles in my direction. Oh, that's really fair. Then... An agonizing pain seared through my whole body. However, thanks to the demon blood flowing through my veins, all of my wounds quickly healed.
What the hell? I saw the bullets hit him, but they're still alive. Is it a monster?
Hearing the soldier call me a monster made my head hurt. Why do I even have to answer them at all? You guys are the monsters. True, I'm no human, however. You call me the monster when you're the traitors who turn your back on your allies. You're the real monsters.
The monster is saying something. Fire! Fire at will until that thing's dead!
Yet another wave of bullets ripped my flesh apart, and my body felt weary. With this many bullets, one's gonna have to hit the spot eventually. We should really run. No, I can't die here. I must avenge Inoue.
You despicable pieces of crap. Abandoning the shogunate is one thing, but attempting to harm such a noble demon specimen with your disgusting, clumsy weapons.
That voice! Just then, I felt the warm embrace of arms wrap around me before lifting me up. Huh? The soldiers' eyes grew wide, and in the blink of an eye they were all slain, falling to the floor. Kazama? The serious loss of blood caused my vision to blur. However, I could recognize that deep voice anywhere. I knew it was him.
Save your strength. You may be a demon, but you took a battering there. It'll be a moment before you're fully healed.
Compared to the other times we had met, his words were gentle and comforting. Why? Why was Kazuma helping me? This was a man who, time and time again, took sadistic pleasure in attacking the Shinsengumi. Another troop of traitorous soldiers watched Kazuma from afar, hurrying over with rifles in hand.
Who the hell are you? You with that monster over there? So what if I am? Then me and my men will shoot you to death. Shoot me to death? Don't make me laugh. I didn't think it was possible to meet someone so unbelievably pathetic and ludicrous.
Kazuma grinned menacingly, allowing me to stand behind him as he chuckled to himself. He was protecting me, and from behind him I felt strangely safe.
Wait there. It'll only be a moment until I wipe our sight of this filth.
Kazuma murmured to me softly. Then he turned to face the warriors, who seemed terrified. They actually seemed pretty romantic. Stay here while I kill these jerks that hurt you. Then...
Let's make this quick, shall we? I don't like to waste time killing you worthless pigs. If you want to attack me, you'd better give it your all. It'll be the last thing you ever do. Fire!
All the warriors aimed their guns to shoot. Then, Kazuma vanished like smoke before me. And then he made very, very quick work of them. I'd heard the sounds of flesh being sliced apart.
You bastard! You're a monster too?
The sparks from the combusting gunpowder flashed in the darkness. Yet Kazuma dodged each bullet with ease, slaughtering the men easily with quick slashes. I really like that little bit of added animation quality that we get with this version of the game. It gives you more of a feeling of movement and immersion, at least in my opinion. The soldiers barely had time to scream out in anguish as they met their gruesome ends. There was an elegance in Kazuma's madness, and as horrific as it was, I'd been entranced by it all.
Slaughtering you bastards is child's play to me, and you're not worth my time.
Kazuma glared coldly at the pile of dismembered corpses on the floor, and he sheathed his sword. Then he turned to face me.
Are you feeling any better? You should have healed enough to walk by now.
Oh, thank you. But why did you help me? If you're still working for the Satsuma, then that makes us enemies. Kazuma averted his gaze coolly, staying silent. Just then, a whirlwind whipped around us. And out of the shadows, I heard the rustle in the bushes, a figure emerging from the darkness. Which would be...
Oh, I'm so glad you're alive, Chizuru.
Was he in Kazuma's route originally? I don't remember him being there before.
I was so worried these stupid humans would have tried to kill you.
What? Who was approaching us? How did they know my name? The voice sounded somewhat familiar.
Ah, are you having trouble recognizing me because I'm dressed like this? We'd met before in Kyoto, remember?
Oh, I'm surprised she remembered after just hearing that. I remember now. I think I remember meeting him while on a round with Okita. Are you Kaoru Nagumo?
You remember me? This makes me so happy, Chizuru.
But you look...
I can explain. But when we first met, I couldn't really tell you that I was actually a man. The Nagumo clan of Tosa, eh? So, you must be one of the demons from the Shikoku. Indeed, I have you to thank, Chikage Kazuma. Thank you for protecting my sweet little sister from those wretched humans.
Little sister? Kaoru, however, ignored my question.
Chizuru, there's someone I want you to meet. Someone I think you'd be very interested to see.
Someone I've been looking for several years? Kaoru turned to face the forest behind him. I squinted to get a better look, and I saw a shadow emerge from the darkness. It was... Oh my goodness! Father!
It's been some time, Chizuru. How have you been, my child?
Okay, and with our family reunion here, I'll end this video. We'll pick up with the rest of our what's sure to be unpleasant family reunion in the next video. But in any case, I hope we have lots more left in Chapter 5. Come on, give us more Kazuma stuff. So hope to see you there or in some of my other videos, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Really signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.